Okay, guys, chapter 18. We only have one more chapter to go, chapter 19 till the end of our book. So let's see what we have for chapter 18 today. Okay, our novel study layout, pause if needed. Okay, your written response, I made it a little bit different for today. So to the right, so right here, you will see a list of different character traits. I want you to choose 2 of these character traits that you think describe Brian best throughout this novel. For each, emphasize it with capital letters there, for each trait that you choose, you need to explain in 3 to 5 sentences how that represents Brian. You should be able to use evidence and examples from the text in your explanations. So what that means, and the reason I say each very specifically, is if I choose to say that Brian is lazy, let's say that was one of the traits I choose for Brian, that means I'm going to write lazy, and then for lazy, I need 3 to 5 sentences explaining from the book why I think is lazy. Then I have to choose a second trait and do the exact same thing where I write 3 to 5 sentences. So you need to do this twice with 2 different character traits. And you are choosing 2 that you think represent Brian the best throughout this entire novel. So him as a person, look through this list and find 2 that you truly think show a good example of what Brian is as a character. Okay, so 2 different ones. Each one needs 3 to 5 sentences explaining why. Okay, and just to point it out again, make sure we've read 18 chapters now. You guys have a lot of evidence and examples from our book that can show the traits that you choose for Brian. So make sure you're using that text evidence, please. Okay, your vocab, this is the last day for vocab. You're not going to have anything to do for vocab tomorrow because today is your 3rd day for vocabulary. So you guys know that you need to take one of your vocab words and create that short story, that little 1 paragraph, 5 to 7 sentences short story using one of the words that you worked with last week. You last week for chapter 16, you did the dictionary definitions. 17, you did the sentences. I know it's a new week, but we're still doing the same vocabulary words. So for chapter 18 today, take one of those vocab words and create a short story. This is your last vocabulary task for Hatchet. Okay, so go ahead and get that done, and let's look at our last activity. Okay, so I know we still have 1 chapter left in the book, but we have read 18 chapters. So you guys have a pretty good idea of how the book has been. So you are going to give our book Hatchet a rating. So like I said, with only 1 chapter left, I want you to rate our book on a scale from 1 to 5 stars. And the explanations for the stars are below, so I'll read them to you. If you give it 1 star, you think this was a terrible book. So that's the lowest rating you can get. There's no 0 stars. 1 star would be the worst. You thought the book was terrible. 2 stars, not too good. 3 stars, it was okay. You didn't dislike it or like it. You're kind of in the middle. 4 stars, you thought it was a pretty good book. If you give it a full 5 stars, you thought this was an excellent book and you would highly recommend it to anyone who asks for a book that they should read. Okay? After you rate it, so after you choose the amount of stars that you would give it, you're going to explain with at least 5 to 7 sentences why you gave it that rating. If you give it a lower rating, like a 1 or a 2, explain why you didn't like it as much. What did you not like about the book? Why did you give it such a low rating? If you gave it a higher rating, like a 4 or a 5, explain what you liked about the book and be specific about why you decided on that rating. Now, if you give it 3 stars, you're technically right in the middle. So if you give it the 3 stars, I want you to explain maybe reasons you didn't like it too much and also maybe reasons you did like it. Because if you're in the middle on that 3, there were obviously things you didn't like and that you did like about the book. So whichever rating you give it, make sure you explain in 5 to 7 sentences what you did or didn't like about the book. This is your rating. It's based on what you felt the book did and how well it was written. Okay, so that's your last assignment for today. So again, your 3 assignments are your written response, your vocab short story, and your rating of the book. Okay, see you for our last chapter, chapter 19, and then we are done with Hatchet. We're going to find out what is going to happen to Brian. See you for chapter 19.